How do you even tackle a movie this big? I mean, can I keep it under half an hour? I'm gonna try. Brothers and sisters, my name is Daidarius and welcome to the pros and cons spoiler review of Avengers Infinity War. That's right, this is the pros and cons spoiler review. That means if you hadn't seen the movie, then don't watch this video. I'm gonna spoil everything. So, this is your official spoiler warning. As tradition dictates, I need to make some room over here, so, right? Oh, sorry, whoa! There you go. First of all, I'm going to do these out of order, so there's no specific order to these pros and cons. I'm going to do the pros first and then the cons, but it doesn't mean the first I'm talking about is more important than the last I'm going to talk about in the pros section, so just keep that in mind. First off, we have Red Skull. I mean, who the hell saw that coming? I didn't. And I just love the fact that they got him back into the MCU. I know that you could have killed him off by saying he was transported into space in Captain America, the first Avenger, and then just died because of exposure to space because it's, quite deadly out there. But no, he was transported to Vormir, the Soulstone planet. And apparently he has been living there for 70 plus years. And already now people are suggesting that he is tied into the Soulstone. That's why he could float and keep himself alive for all that time. I don't know about that, but I do welcome him joining the MCU yet again, even though it was only for a small part. So, there you go. Next, you have the invincible Thanos. And I mean that in two ways. First of all, just Thanos in general. Thanos was amazing. He was giving a lot of death. He was humanized. He was ground. He was made like a normal person who just had one specific view on the world, on a problem, and a way to solve it. And that was his driving force. He felt it was his destiny to solve this problem, and that is what made him go forward. And I just love the fact that he seemed real, especially just the effects of him. He looked extremely real. I don't know how they did it with the CGI, given the fact that he's a giant purple dude, but he looked real and he felt real. And not just that, he felt like he was invincible, that you could not beat this man. And that's my second point about Thanos. Even though that he had the Infinity Stone, he still, without using the Power Stone, beat the Hulk in hand-to-hand combat. How do you do that? The Hulk is fucking strong, but apparently Thanos is stronger. He just wiped the fucking floor with that man. After that, I knew he was unbeatable. And then he got the stones, and every time he was on screen and you see the stones light up and he cleanses his fist, shit got real, shit hit the fan, and you just felt, fuck, I can't beat him. And I'm just a moviegoer. I don't need to beat him, but you just felt that this is a man who is dangerous, who is opposing, and who is unbeatable. And just the fact that they managed to make him feel unbeatable in an opposing, frightening, threatening way, it goes on score. And speaking of no chance feeling, that is my next point, because everything in this movie feels like no one has got a fucking chance against Thanos and his minions. Even though the minions are just faceless, brainless soldiers that we have seen in the other Avengers movies, the minions in themselves feel like they are overpowered, because when they attack Wakanda, I don't see anyone having an easy time with these soldiers. And then there's Thanos' children. Every one of them feels like they could take on the Avengers solo. That means you could have put any one of them in the former Avengers movie as the main villain, and it would have worked. And when you have that, and then mix in the big purple badass motherfucker baddie who can beat the Hulk in pure strength, you have the recipe for a desperate situation that's just hammered into your heart and grabs you by the balls and makes you think that you're gonna die now. And that alone deserves a spot on the list, so go there. I also touched upon this in my movie review, but just the way they balance this extreme assemble, I think there's, 40 or 50 heroes or something like that they need to balance in this movie, and they do for the most part, but I will get to that in the cons section. But for the most part, everyone gets the time to shine. Everyone gets the spotlight and show us their character quirks, but also how they will bounce off and interact with other characters who are either the exact copy of them or the polar opposite. And no time did I feel like there was too much going on between these characters, having a hard time to find out who was going where and what they were doing. No, everything was balanced to almost perfect balance. But yeah, just the fact that they managed to pull this off just shows that Civil War was the Russo brothers' training wheels. This is where they were able to show that they got what it takes to do an Avengers movie, to balance these characters. They did it then, and then you just up the ante and just multiplied the ensemble by 10 or something. But they pulled it off, so yes. And then there is the ending. The ending was just masterfully done. This movie is not a two-part. It's not the first part of a two-part movie that we often see when we're capping off something spectacular. We saw it in Harry Potter. We saw it in The Hunger Games. Yeah. And we saw it in Twilight. Well, those are not epic, but you get the idea. They always split up the last movie because more money, but not here. This is its own movie. It had a beginning, it had a middle, and it had an ending. And after that ending, the movie is done. You're not sitting there wondering what is the climax of the next movie gonna be, because this movie did what it set out to do. And since this is Thanos' movie, the movie ends with Thanos sitting there at the sunset and just rejoicing that he accomplished what he set out to do. He did, in fact, in his mind, save the universe by eliminating half of them by just one snap. And just the boldness of that ending by eliminating over half of the hero ensemble is just awesome, because that sets up the next movie where they will be in an even shittier situation. Given the fact that in this movie the Avengers wasn't even assembled, they were split because of Civil War, and now they're gonna have fewer members to try and beat Thanos, who's now have 6 Infinity Stones. What the fuck? So the fact that the Russo brothers had the balls to end the movie this way and not on a cliffhanger, you know the drill. Just put that there. The next thing is the Iron Spider. Now, I knew that we're gonna get the Iron Spider after we saw the Iron Spider suit at the ending of Spider-Man Homecoming. But I did have my worries, because it just seemed like an Iron Man suit for Spider-Man, and I didn't want that. I didn't want Peter Parker to be able to fly around and just be Iron Man, but with Spider-Man reflexes. I didn't want that. I want Spider-Man with, the legs on his back. And we got that. Given that the Iron Spider has 3 legs and here he has 4, but that's a minor detail. I don't mind. Just the fact that they used the legs and then later on it became more integrated into his fighting style and the way he interacted with the environment. I just love the fact that they did that. And then the Iron Spider later on become a most welcome addition to the Avengers. I do miss Karen a bit, but that's just because that's the way Peter Parker and Karen interacted in Spider-Man Homecoming. I just love that. And I know that here we have Friday, so we don't need another one, but still. But besides that, the Iron Spider was all I could have hoped for. And since we are talking about action sequences, let's just dive into that. The action sequences. Holy shit. I mean, have you seen so inventive action sequence in MCU at all? I don't think so. And if you say yes, then you're fucking lying, man. Not only does Tony has a nano suit that makes him able to summon cannons and just do special things with his suit, you have Thanos with the Infinity Stones throwing moons at our heroes. Moons! Have you seen how fucking big those are? And he just throws them. Jesus. He doesn't really throw them, he throws part of it. But still, it's just awesome to see what the Russo brothers can do when they're giving the absolute biggest budget ever. And I was afraid that these action sequences would go stale because we have pretty much seen it all by now. But then he throws in the Children of Thanos and you get new and interesting action sequences. You got that guy, I don't remember his name, who is like a magician just like Doctor Strange, so he can throw things around. You got the girl with the staff with the glowing spikes. You got the big hulking man who has that, what is it? Is it a hook that can be a shield and a hammer? I don't know what it is, but it's awesome. And then you have the more forgettable guy who is the one who goes after Vision and has the spear in his, Infinity Stone. But the action scene was enjoyable. And of course, everything that Thanos did was epic. And I just love these inventive action sequences because I was kind of dreading that would just be Iron Man flying around shooting beams at the villains and that would be it. But no, here you have chase scenes, you have things thrown around, you have people going from one place to another in a city to trying to escape, you have moon being thrown at you, you have armies colliding, you have some intense shit going down in a forest between few guys. I just love this movie. And then the last good thing is the Infinity Stones. As I said, I was dreading that they were not going to utilize the Infinity Stones as I hoped they would. But when I saw Thanos not only on nowhere showing that he had created this false reality where everything was still hunky-dory and they could still find the reality stone, but also the fact that when Drax and Mantis attacked him, he used the reality stone to turn their body into, I don't know, abstract figures or something. I knew at that moment that they were going to utilize the Infinity Stones. They were going to showing that when you possessed an Infinity Stone, shit gets real. You are unbeatable. And just the fact that he gets all 6, I didn't see it coming. Well, I saw it coming throughout the movie when we're getting over half into the movie and he had 4 or something. I knew, okay, he's gonna get all of them. But the trailers showed him only have 2 stones throughout the trailers. And then you find out that there was just CGI edited out to make you think that he will only get 2 or 3 stones. And then in the next Avengers movie, he will get the remaining 3. But no. He gets all of them. And he uses almost all of them. I don't think he used the Soul Stone though. So I'm looking forward to see what the Soul Stone can do. But I just can't wait to see how he's going to utilize them in the next Avengers movie. I just hope they up the ante and this time he will throw a fucking planet or moon or something. Not just pieces of it, but the whole thing. And then the Avengers just got to, dodge the thing. Okay, so that is what? 8 pros? Cool. Well, then it's the cons, so let's dig into it. So the first thing I have an issue with is the ending, or more specifically, the time given to the end. Because I want the end to really hit home. Thanos is going for the last stone. Thanos is getting the last stone. And I want him to utilize all stones to make the snap to kill half the universe. But the lead up was just sped through too fast, which is a bummer because we have an extremely emotional scene between Scarlet Witch and Vision, and then you have Thanos just going for them and just completely annihilating all the other Avengers. But I just think that they went too fast through that ending, especially then after he's done his snap and you see people disappearing and you just go, what? You want this to hit home, you want it to hit the characters, you want them to react more than just being baffled about what the fuck is going on. And then you have Thanos then completing his mission at the end farm scene. But I just thought that after all that build, after this 2 hours and almost 30 minutes, we just rushed the ending, and I have just wanted that piece where he's walking through the forest coming towards Scarlet Witch to be more impactful. Even maybe have Captain America, say something or standing up to him or just something instead of just speeding through it. So I know it's a minor detail, but this is the con section, so some of it's just gonna be nitpicks. Yeah. And since we are at the ending, let's talk about the snap. I didn't like the snap. I don't mind the snap happening because I originally thought that they're gonna end the movie after he did the snap, because it's the perfect way to end the movie. Now the Avengers are in a bigger shit pile than they were when you started the movie. That's a good way to end the movie. No, it's just the way it was done. In the comics, and I know I shouldn't just compare this to the comics, but we need some context here. In the comics, when Thanos finally does his snap, it is given a lot of attention. You see every gem lightening up, and then when he does the snap, everything is black and white, and you just see the gems glow and just engulf the whole screen. You can only nearly see the outlines of his gauntlet. You feel the power of that snap utilizing all 6 Infinity Stones. I wanted that in this movie, but all you see is at the end of the screen, he does the snap, it light up the screen, and that is it. You don't see all the stones glowing. You don't see it hit hard on everything around him. It just go boom, and that is it. I wanted more attention to given into that snap because it is iconic and it is what this whole movie has building towards. They keep talking about when he gets all the 6 stones, he can do the snap. He keeps saying, when I get the 6 stones, I can do the snap. And when you finally get to the snap, I want all focus on that hand. You can even feel like he's raising his hands. Thor notices the hands. And then you see him smiles, and then you just focus on the hand. You see all the gems lighting up, maybe in slow motion, and then it hit, and then a sound wave or shock wave or something just hits you, and everything goes white. Just more emphasis put on it. Now, as I said, this is not the biggest issues. I will get to the bigger issue later on, but still, it is some issues. So now we're getting to more specific issue. One of the issues is the Soul Stone. I didn't mind that they found the Soul Stone in this movie. What I do mind is the amount of time given to the Soul Stone and the search for it. It was done too quickly. We have been wondering for ages, where is the fucking Soul Stone? And then they use this movie to show where it is. Awesome. So you get to the planet Vormir, meet up with Red Skull. You find out that he needs to sacrifice the person he loves to get the Soul Stone. But all that is done too quickly. You don't get any indication of what the Soul Stone can do. You don't get an indication of what is Red Skull's real purpose. Yes, he says he guards the Soul Stone, but why do you guard the Soul Stone? The Soul Stone is protected. You don't get any information on the planet. You don't get any idea of what is this trial about. Why does it exist? What is the purpose? You don't get anything. They just arrive at the planet, talk a bit, find Red Skull, he does his thing, he gets the Soul Stone, and that is it. I wanted more time to be put on the Soul Stone because apparently the Soul Stone is said to be the most powerful Infinity Stone there is. So give it time. Develop it, show it to us. Another thing is also something I touched upon in my review is the emotional impact or the lack thereof. I saw them trying to do some emotional scenes. We saw with Thor when Rocket tried to cheer him up after he had lost everything and just trying to find out what did he want to do. He has lost everyone. What is his plan? And he says even though he will lose everything, he will keep on fighting. It was a good scene. For some reason, it didn't hit home with me. And not that the scene is bad. The scene is quite well executed, but there was just something off. The emotion that Chris Hemsworth was showing didn't convey onto me. It was like that throughout the whole movie. You had the scene where Thanos sacrifices Gamora and you see that he actually loves her. You have Vision and Scarlet Witch at the end, and the scenes was almost played to perfection, but for some reason the emotions never got beyond the screen. It didn't reach the audience, or at least it didn't reach me. And for a movie like this, I want it to be a heavy hitter. I want it to be like the Return of the King, where you see Merry and Pippin talking to each other after that big fight outside of Gondor, where you just bawling your eyes off. I want that emotional impact. But unfortunately, I didn't got it. And I didn't got it anywhere. And I think the reasons might be that the scenes wasn't given time to breathe. When you had an emotional heavy scene, it wasn't given time to breathe, to let you experience the emotions. A lot of the scenes needed to be wrapped up rather quickly because again, we have a lot of shit to do in this movie, so we can't just waste too much time on every scene. But some of the scenes could benefit by letting them breathe. Does that make sense? And I know that I praised it before, but one other gripe of mine is the ending, because the ending is just, it's not abruptly, but I wanted it to be more. And I know that kind of contradicts the fact that this is a personal story from Thanos' point of view. When you consider the ending, he gets the final stone and then out of nowhere Thor's attack him. They have a brief conversation and then it just ends. I wanted more. I wanted it when Thanos finally arrived on Earth. everyone were gonna shit their pants, and you as a viewer gonna think, fuck, they might not survive this. But you don't really get that at the end, because he's just tossing things around. He's only focused on the stone. And then again, after he has done the snappy snap and people start vanishing, you don't see them really react to it. They're just baffled about what just happened. I want it to be a heavy effect that their friends, family, loved one just up and died in front of them. Even Captain America just like, Buck, what just happened to Bucky? So I wanted more of the ending. I still like the fact how it ended with Thanos winning and he accomplished everything he set out to do. But I wanted more emphasizing and more undertones in the ending. I just wanted the ending to punch me harder in my gut. That's all I'm saying. So one more. And then there is the hype of the movie. And I know you might go, how can the hype be a bad thing about the movie? Well, here's the thing. The movie has been hyped up for nearly 10 years. So our expectation was sky high. And I think it does ruin the movie a little bit. And by that I mean everything was focused around these epic fight scenes. And I still wanted the epic fight scene and I got them. But something got lost in translation. And I think the best way I can illustrate that is Civil War. What I liked about Civil War was the emotional conflict between our two main characters, Tony Stark and Steve Rogers, and especially the end fight. Every emotional weight was put into that fight. But you couldn't get that in this movie because you have hyped up every hero, you have hyped up every villain, and you wanted Thanos to get all the stones and then do his snap, and that will be it. I wanted the end to be as emotional as the end of Civil War. I want the fight scene to have as much weight as it did at the end of Civil War. So to get back to my problem with the ending, that is probably the problem and the solution. Give it more emotional weight. Then again, that might be the case with the next Avengers movie, but still, it is a gripe. And then this is probably a luxury problem, but this movie has too much to do and too little time. And even though that this movie is going on for 2 hours and 40 minutes, it is not enough time. I wanted 3 hours movie. And I know every fan will want every superhero movie to be over 3 hours long. I get that, but this movie needed that. There's a lot of scenes you wanted to expand. There's a lot of scenes you want more out of. There's too many key scenes given too little time to actually fasten into you. And this movie could have benefited for maybe 10 or 20 minutes more screen time and taking the existing scenes that needed to be expanded, the ending, the Soul Stone, the Nowhere, just to give a few examples, expand those scenes and let them fasten in you. So what I'm saying is this movie is actually too short, believe it or not, because it needs to do too much in too little time. That doesn't mean that this movie fails in doing that amount of shit in that amount of time, but it would have benefited greatly with just 10, maybe 20 minutes added to the screen time. And then my final gripe, and that is probably one of my absolute biggest gripe, that some heroes was not given enough screen time. And I know that this is a balancing act. You need to make sure that every hero get their spotlight. But for some reason, there's someone who jumps to mind when you think about who didn't get enough screen time. There's someone who was unjustifiably not given any screen time, almost at all. And I'm of course talking about Captain America. Captain America is one of the most energetic, fantastic, awesome written superheroes in the MCU. Every time that charisma is on screen, you buy it. You just go, that's the right, you're the captain. The first thing that pops in my head is Age of Ultron, where Tony Stark and Steve Rogers are discussing the fact Tony Stark's need to prepare for that end game up there, where Steve Rogers just says that we'll fight together. And then Tony Stark says to him, we'll lose. And Steve Rogers, without blinking, answers him, then we'll do that together too. I wanted that in this movie because that is where we are now. I wanted that Captain America, but he has given almost no screen time. He has an epic introduction in that train station with Vision and Scarlet Witch, but then after that, he just kind of vanishes. He even meets up with Bucky after he has become more better, and their interaction is just... I mean, you just spent the whole fucking Civil War movie setting up their friendship and how important it is to him, besides justice. And then you just brush it off in this movie. I mean, come on! Utilize Captain America. He is one of the main fucking 6 Avengers members. So I just hope that since over half of the ensemble has been deleted and Captain America is still left, that he has been giving much more needed screen time in the next Avengers movie, because he needs it. He is the leader of the Avengers. I know we often see Tony Stark after that, but still, in this movie, it is Captain America who's given the orders. It is Captain America who is the real charisma of the real hero. He is the one who always motivates the others to keep fighting. And here, all he had was an epic beard. And I also miss his gold shields. So that's that. So that's the last one. So we have what? Is that 8-8? So I know that this scoreboard may seem like this movie is just but then again, you need to weigh the pros and the cons. Even though there's equal amount of them in this situation, it doesn't mean that the cons weighs as much as the pros. And again, I really like this movie. I thought this was almost as perfect movie as they could have made, given the hype, even though the hype kind of destroyed some part of the movie. So there you have my opinions, more specifically on Avengers Infinity War. Do you agree with any one of them, or do you disagree? Whatever you think, whatever you liked or disliked about this movie, or you disagree with me or agree with me, whatever you think, comment below and read your thoughts. And as always, until see you in the next video, remember to stay awesome. Bye! So now I'm only gonna wait 1 year till the next Avengers movie. God damn it.